Hey everybody, this is Radio 568 at John Jay College. We're broadcasting here on May 5th, I believe, 2015. We're here with the Self-Media and Society class, and we'll be podcasting this, and so if you don't hear it live, you're going to hear the podcast. We're going to begin with, we have two teams that are going to be talking about news that's going on here at John Jay. I'll be talking about that in a second. I am Professor Alan Winson, teaching the Self-Media and Society class here in the English department up at 7.65.26 in the new building. It's very warm here today. It's May, and it's starting to get like summery outside. It's going to be in the 80s today. And the building that we're in, the new building, is stifling. It is, it's very, 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 very hot. I went downstairs and talked to the security guards downstairs and asked when we'd start getting some air through the building. This is a new building, so we really shouldn't have any problems here. Everything's new here. It's what's called the new building. He said, well, there's work going on, and by the way, Professor, you got a notice in your announcements that said what's going on. So I came back up to this hot studio, and I looked through my latest announcements, and there's nothing there. There was something there about a seminar on death, which may have been the announcement, because it's so hot, I'm sure some people are not going to feel too alive today. So we have someone here who, one of the students here on the team that's going to be podcasting first here. Nicole, what did you find out about this? How long is this going to take?
I'm not really sure. I think it's going to be like this like all week until next week. They're fixing something with the cooling system, so that's why it's scorching hot and the air is so thick in here.
It really is. It really is. I mean, it's anyway, yeah. Say everyone take off their shirts, but we've got a mixed crowd here, so we'll keep our clothes on. Yeah, I mean, I heard about a week, and it's been about a week. Now, if you go over to the North Hall, which is an old building with an old, filtration system, an old fan system, it's nice over there. Yeah, my office over there is nice and cool. So, anyway, we're here now. So this is the Project 3 of the Self-Media and Society class, and they are podcasting, or they did a podcast on the general title of My College Life. Each team, we have two teams, each team chose a topic that deals with their experience as college students. And the first team that we have here in the studio now, and we'll introduce them after we hear their podcast, talked about working and going to college at the same time. Many of these students are, in fact, working either in a job or in the military. And so let's hear their podcast, and then we'll come back and we'll talk to them.
Hi, so today for our podcast, we want to discuss our college life and our experiences going to John Jay as a commuter school, and how we don't have the chance to basically experience what it would be like as opposed to a school that is like a going away school, and how we don't get the experience because we all work and have jobs and families to occupy. So I'm going to take it over to Zen so he could discuss being a Marine.
Hi everybody. My name is Zen, and I'm a police study major, and I'm also a Marine Reservist. So being a military member and a student, we have to learn how to balance our time between the military drill and studies. And also, when we go home, actually, we still need to know how to schedule our time for homework and the military mandatory works. As a Marine, we have to do some MCI thing and a Marine NAC tax. That is something could help us to get promoted, or something like annual training. That is a mandatory thing we have to do. And because of that, in military drill weekend. Some Marines, they choose to UA, which is unreasonable absent, and some of them just drop their classes in the school because they think there's not that much time for school and military drilling. And
Sorry, I have a question. What is a military drill?
that is the name for military training every month. Like we every month we have at least one weekend for training. We call that military drill.
Okay, so being a Marine and being in the military, how does it affect your GPA and your time to study?
Actually, personally, I miss some homeworks and classes during the drill weekends, or sometimes they will make us schedule longer than a weekend because sometimes we need to do some rifle corps or some communication exercise. That means we need to go outside to do some field training. So I missed like 4 classes already, and classes missing. That means missing, and and I'm also an ESL student, so sometimes I miss something, I just cannot understand. And 1 week later, when I come back to school, when the professor talking to us, I just I have no idea what they're talking about.
Lost.
And because the missing works, I just see my grade comes down, and I don't even know what is happening.
All right. Hi, guys. I'm Nicole. I totally agree with Zen. I was actually thinking about how I also have a hard time managing school and work. I work as a science activity specialist, so I help lesson plan and I facilitate science lessons for kids from kindergarten to 5th grade in different programs in Queens. And I have a hard time balancing school and work, and then also attending school events. I actually had a teacher in my counseling class, and she told me that if I attended events in and during community hour, that I will receive 3 points extra for every event that I attended. And I could never attend those because I work at that time. So after class, I have to rush right over to work, and then I miss out on the grade. I miss out on all the potential extra credit that I could get, and that's really not fair at all.
I agree. Going to a commuter school like John Jay, and especially we're in the city, we're just so busy that we just focus. We're in and out. Like, okay, I have class at this time, and then I'll go to class, and then I'll make it in time just to clock in for work to be on time, and then I'll go, and then I'll get home and I'll do homework. So you don't have time to participate in activities during community hour. And community hour is a good thing, since we are a community school, so it allows for us to have,
downtime.
It lets us, find friends and be social and, participate, like a school and what do you call it? A dorming school.
Yeah.
But, we still a lot of people don't participate. Maybe like half the school. I haven't done any statistics, but, half the school doesn't participate because we have to go to work, have to go take care of our kids, have to pick them up from school, whatever. So I agree. But
I'm sorry to cut you off, but did you know that they actually have like a boot camp class that they exercise during community hour? They have like
they
Zumba,
have yoga.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. They have kickboxing.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, I wish I could do that stuff.
Yeah, but
and I
just
can't
don't
do
have
that.
The time.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I knew about all those things, but sometimes like, all right, like 1 year I'll be like, I want to try it. And now it's like, all right, I'm about to graduate. Now I can't try anything because it's over.
And what if you wanted to join like a club or something? Like you definitely can't do that because most of them meet during community hour. So it's like, when do you really have the time to build your resume with these clubs? To really get to know people, to network, and how do you find the time to do that?
Exactly. it's enough to balance 5 classes and go to work full time too, and try to maintain your grades, so you could get accepted to graduate school or law school or medical school, whatever you want to do. And then on top of that, to try to join a club. Like, I was in a club when I didn't work, and then I started working, and then I started going less and less, and now I don't go to anything. I don't participate at all. So it is hard to, try to participate, be social, get enough sleep, do your work, and go to work and make money.
Yeah, and then you spend all the money basically on school. That's what happens.
Yep.
You're spending money on school the school that you don't even spend enough time in.
It's sad. You don't even get to experience what you really want to, because I guess we're paying for our grades.
Yeah,
That's it.
basically. That's what it
No
feels
fun.
like.
Yeah.
Okay, we're back in the studio. Thank you for that podcast when you were talking about your experiences. Why don't we go around the table and introduce yourself and your major and anything else you want to say as to who you are. Oh, I like that music. Nicole did the editing and picked out that music. Where'd you find that?
The website that you gave was, I can't remember the name.
Ah, okay. This was the Really Bad Arab. Was that from there? Yeah, okay. So Zen, why don't you start and just move around the table.
Yes. Hi, everybody. My name is Zan, and I'm a police study major.
Hi, everybody. I'm Nicole, and I'm a criminal justice major.
Hi, I'm Dudlin, and I'm a political science major.
Hi, I'm Samantha, and I'm a forensic psychology major.
Okay. And Samantha wasn't on the podcast. I think she was ill, so she wasn't able to get in, but we'll hear her ideas as we move around the table and talk about working and going to college. I did some research into this after I listened to your podcast, and I learned from actually I went to like 3 different sites, but from one of the websites, Think Progress, it says that 80% of college students are working, and that comes from a Citigroup and 17 magazine research. I don't know what Citigroup is doing researching this. Of course, just making student loans, I guess. They want to know who can pay back the loans, and I guess you working students can pay back those loans. Right. In another CBS News, I found a little lower, 71% of college students are working. There's a number of causes for this, according, again, to Think Progress, that, during the Great Recession, 2008, we just don't have as much money, and so we're paying higher tuitions, and we need to kind of find extra money so that we can live. You can all talk about why you're working. I don't think you really got into that in your podcast. The other cause is tuition costs have gone up. Again, I'm getting this from Think Progress website. State fundings have been cut so that there's not as much money out there for college students. Parents aren't contributing as much as they had. And according to the American Association of University Professors, they say that working and going to school, quote, creates high levels of stress and anxiety, making it less likely that students will complete their degrees, end quote. So that students who are working tend, to a greater extent than students who are not working and just going to school, they tend not to finish. So there's some information that I found. Also, I don't know if you know this, but there are mandates, legal mandates, about how much you're allowed to work and go to school. I'm sure it's not kept up. It's more applied to high school students than it is to college students. But according to the mandate, many colleges recommend that students only work 10 to 15 hours a week. So my first question is, how many hours a week do you work on an average?
Well, personally, I don't work, but I'm going
Then
to...
you don't count.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm just going to
All right,
say...
I want to talk to those who are working, either in the military or working in a school, or Dudlin works at Macy's, I hear. So how many hours a week would you average during the semester?
During the semester or during a week?
During a week during the semester.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I work about 30 hours, sometimes more.
So you're way beyond the mandate that most colleges would have about students working and studying.
Yeah.
You're about double the mandate. Okay.
I work about 22 hours because I work in an after-school program. So mostly like our program hours are between 2 and 6, and then I usually come in an hour earlier to lesson plan and get my day going.
Do you find that sometimes you're working more hours some weeks than others?
Yeah, when I have trainings, and I have to make trainings Friday morning sometimes, and then I stay there from like 9 to 12, and then I go back to my site, which I have to be there at 1, and then I don't leave until 6:30. If parents come pick up the kids late, then I stay there till like 6:30, 7 o'clock.
So it could be more than 20 hours a
Yeah.
week. Wow. Okay. And in the military, Zen has to, I know, go away one weekend every month.
Yes.
And that's a whole weekend. So that's 48 hours
48
at least.
hours. Yes,
Yeah.
at least 48 hours. If we have some field training or have rifle range training or something else training, like the hand-on training, maybe more than 48 hours in that weekend. And I mean, except the military training, I still have another part-time job. So
Oh, what do you have? Which
that is a casting assistant in a production office. So I think I would say it's still more than like 10 hours.
So just the casting is 10 hours a week.
Yes, because we don't always have job. You know, if they don't have a project to do, we don't need to stay in the office. So I would say like 10 hours.
Okay, so 10 times 4 weeks, that's 40 hours plus the 48 over the weekend. So that's 88, 90 hours a month that you're spending working, not at school. Yeah. I'm wondering when it comes to the military. I know my son was in the reserves and actually was stationed where you are now, and he said that you weren't allowed to read anything. You weren't allowed to look at books or newspapers. You just had to focus on whatever it is they were telling you to do.
Yes. Especially, I just finished my training at August last year. So now they still count as a new join members. So we have to know more about equipment or know more about how is the platoon or the company or even the battalion is running. So we have to talk to everybody or get to the equipment. And also because our MOS, which is a military occupying specialist, is a small MOS. So we work with all the engineers MOS, and we need to have a cross training because just in case some of the other MOS, they are UA, which is unreasonable absent, or they are not enough MOS members to do something.
I just had one other short question about them. And if anyone else has any questions to anyone else, please go right ahead. Is what is the attitude of your officers, those in charge, towards school and studying and actually getting a degree? And is that the same as the recruits? Because you said that some recruits also are going to college.
It's a good question.
The attitude, they said, they always said that we know you, like we know that it's a hard time, but you need to get physically and mentally prepared for anything, whatever it is. They don't care about college or military training. They just want you to get ready.
They don't care about your college education.
They said they care, but actually I think they more focus on the military part.
Right. I'm going to go back, then I'm going to ask everyone else here some questions. But according to this Think Progress website, it said that if you do work a job, whether it's full-time or part-time, that there is a positive side that tends to build character, and you learn time management.
Yeah,
If you don't learn
structure.
time management, go on, Dudlin. What do you have to say about
Because
that?
I did an article for one of my other classes. It's actually in the Sentinel. They published it, and it's about like,
Oh, good for you.
yeah, I interviewed people and I asked them, like, they work full time, and I asked them, how does it affect your GPA? And most of them said it was positive. Like, they had one of my friends that I interviewed, she's actually on the dean's list at her school, and she just says basically, she prioritizes. Like, she knows what's important when it comes to school and work. She always puts school first, even though she's an assistant manager at her job, but she still finds time to do her homework because she thinks that school is most important. So she just learned how to structure her time, and like if she had something due in 2 weeks, she'll do it. So she'll have time to go to work, and make it on time for school, and then still be able to have everything, I guess, structured.
Right, and it's the same with you, Nicole. Have you found that working as much as you do, that it forces you to be a better time manager?
It does force me to be a better time manager, but am I a better time manager? I don't think so.
Procrastinate?
I do procrastinate. I have that issue.
So do you feel that working has affected your grades?
Yes and no. Yes and no.
All right. Choose one and then choose the other.
I say yes because I feel like sometimes I have to put more. Well, sometimes I have to stay late at work, and then my job has to understand that I have to leave at a certain time to go back to school because I also have a night class that I have to go to. So sometimes they really don't care about that. They just tell me, okay, well, you need to stay because this kid is here, so you have to wait until their parent comes before you go to school.
Okay, yeah.
And that's not fair.
Right, right. So you may have a test the next day or a paper that you kind of procrastinated on.
Exactly.
And you got to get home, and then they say, "Oh, by the way, you got to stay because."
Exactly.
Yeah, I have that issue at work too. And then during the holidays, 'cause I work in retail, they need people to stay late. So I'll be getting off at 11 and 12, and then I have to go home, and I have to go do some homework or whatever. Then I have to go to sleep and wake up in the morning. And one time I had 8 o'clock classes, so I'll be waking up at 6 and going to sleep at 1. So you get tired, but you do find time to do. In my opinion, you'd find time to do because you have work. I have school at 8, so I'm gonna get home at 1. So maybe I should progressively do a little bit on the train, on the bus.
Yeah, that's a good question. Where do you study?
Yeah,
since you're not
I read
home a
on
lot?
the train all the time.
Right.
Because I spend an hour, 45 minutes on the train, so I'll just read. Yeah.
Right. What state do you think has the most students that are working full time?
I think metropolitan cities, big cities like New York, LA, Miami.
Okay, so you're picking the Northeast and you're taking the Southwest.
Yeah, just
and
places
you're
that
way,
have a
you're
big
way off.
population.
You're way off. That's a good guess. Alaska has the most
Really?
full-time college students, according to the CBS News website.
Wow, didn't know that.
Yeah, yeah. Samantha, you don't work, so
Not yet.
do you use the college facilities in ways that
Yeah,
someone who
do you?
does work,
Sometimes.
they're yearning to be in clubs and to exercise and use the community hour, but they can't. Do you use those resources or?
I mean, personally, I'm not that much of a social person, but sometimes I might go to the cafeteria, maybe meet up with a couple people, But I'm planning on joining a club next semester.
You should.
What club?
I think the environmental club.
All
Since
right.
that's a part of my minor. I'm environmental justice minor, so I might as well just get into that type of clubs that have something to do with my schoolwork and what I want to do.
It's good
career.
networking too.
I mean, it seems. I mean, in a way, you're privileged by
I guess.
by not having to work. I worked all through college, not as many hours as you all are working, but I worked right through graduate school. I was right through doctoral school. I was working.
How did you do it?
My doctorate took a long time because I was raising a family and working full time, and I worked when I studied and wrote when I could. But you figure out how to do your time.
Right.
You if you're Samantha, you don't need to figure that out because you've got time. And it's kind of, you can luxuriate, and everyone around here is looking and saying, Samantha, why don't you do more?
Do you ever want to work or?
I mean, yeah, I am planning on working by my house in a little cafe. I'm actually going to start in a couple weeks.
Okay.
So I'm just trying to get into the gist of things. I've always had good time management so far. I always get things done ahead of time, but it might be a little bit more difficult. Well, probably during the school year, but during the summer I'm working full time, college, part time. But I'm looking forward to it. It's a different experience, and I just
It's your first time working?
No, second time. I
Okay.
worked during high school internships.
Okay.
So
So you have a sense of what you're gonna go through.
exactly.
So, Samantha, you were looking up some stuff over there. I wondered what you found.
I mean, I was looking up a study for, actually it was done a couple of years ago about our local schools, community colleges, BMCC in particular, about the demographics of people who are working.
Mm-hmm.
And from what I see right here, about 80% of all college students, especially mostly those in community colleges, are working. I think about 60 in these types of colleges, city colleges, same Jesus, John Jay in particular.
Mm-hmm.
And most of the people who are working are of a certain racial demographic. Mostly minorities work more than people who are Caucasian, non-Hispanic, according to what I'm seeing right now.
Mm-hmm.
And the age groups of those who are working, of course, are 18 and under, about 26% in total. And for 30 to 39 years old, over 50% of people. So it's split
I
up
have
by
a
age
question.
and by race.
Right. So if you're going to college as an older person, you're pretty much working full time,
Right.
and you're
Yeah.
going to college at the same time, probably going at night, like I did when I was doing my graduate work.
Yeah.
I have a question. So what made you decide to want to work now? Like,
I guess because of the pressure. Honestly, I personally felt like I wasn't doing enough because everybody else I know is, I have some friends who aren't working either, but some other friends are working, going to college, and it just kind of made me personally feel bad that I wasn't doing enough. So I just want to do something to make me feel like,
you
that
want to
I'm
feel like fulfilled?
exactly.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, you
Something
could get involved with student government. I mean,
Mhm.
people that are working very hard here at the school, not necessarily getting paid, but they're building up their resume. And if you have the time to do that, that might be something you want to do. I have one last question, and that is, do you have to work? Samantha's saying basically, I want to work. I don't have to work. Do you feel that you have to do these jobs? Is this something that's really a necessity in order to kind of get along?
Yes.
Yes, I do.
Yeah, I think so.
So you need that cash. That
Yeah,
money
we
is
have
Yes.
bills,
right. Books,
babies.
Especially when you pay out of pocket for school.
and you're paying out of pocket.
Yeah.
Who else is paying out of pocket?
And luckily
paying-
for me, my father pays some of my tuition, but
Okay.
yeah, basically,
But you need money to live on.
yeah, I need,
Right.
I have things
Right.
to pay for.
Yeah, it's hard times. It's hard times. It'll get better once you graduate, but you got to get through this. So thank you all for this discussion. I'm going to move on to our next one. Just sit here for a second while I introduce the next podcast. This next podcast is put together by team number 2, and they found something very unusual that's going on here at John Jay College. They found these covers that are removable that go over the windows of the room. Now, each of the rooms, some of the rooms, though it's all very different, have windows that you can look into the classroom. And these are these small windows. And we're beginning to see more and more of these magnetic things that cover the windows. And they were asking, what are these? And so we're going to play their podcast next and then bring them in and then talk to them. So why don't you all say goodbye while I get this set up? So I need a kind of about 5 seconds.
Well, I guess we'll see you guys eventually if we decide to further continue these broadcasts. Personally,
Thanks for listening.
yeah,
Thank you for
Thank you.
listening.
Warning! Due to the presence of suspicious individuals, this campus is now under lockdown. Please remain within your respective rooms, and for anyone outside, head to the nearest classroom. The instructions on what you need to do will be given to you at this moment.
Emergency panel to cover glass. Use only when public safety issues a lockdown order. Lift magnetic panel off the door surface. Place magnetic panel over the glass in the door. Cover glass completely. Wait for instructions for public safety/NYPD. Never lock door or cover glass unless under campus lockdown. If door is locked or glass is covered, public safety will enter and investigate. For instructions or a demonstration on how to hang the emergency panel properly, contact Facilities Management at extension 8541.
Okay, so for anyone listening that hasn't figured it out yet, this was nothing more than a simulation. But seriously, can you believe that these are the instructions on what we're supposed to do in case something like this actually happens? Door covers, safety panels, safety curtains. Whatever name we use to describe them, the handled cover is found in pretty much every classroom on the John Jay campus to use in case of lockdown. What really is the point of having these pieces of plaster or wood or whatever they're made of? Today we'll discuss this issue and whether or not the door covers serve their purpose or if using these things actually works against us. But before that, some of the introductions are in order.
Welcome to Self, Media, and Society, Class 131. I am your moderator, Joe Wong Chan, and today we'll be talking about the door covers here at John Jay University.
I'm Juan, and my major's in forensic science.
Hello, my name is Victor Ayala, and my major is officially economics.
I'm Christy Loveras, and my major is forensic psychology.
Before we elaborate more into the door covers, we actually brought in someone to talk about it who has spoken to a security officer here at John Jay. His name is Professor Allen, and he's our current media professor, and here's the interview. I'm here with my media professor, Professor Allen, and he has some very enlightening information about something that I have already covered, the door covers that are present in every classroom here at John Jay. He went out of his way to talk to a security officer named Gordon in the downstairs lobby of the
Westport building, right? Right. Yeah, I went and asked him whether or not you all could podcast, actually record, and he would not. He said no. There's a policy that security officers at John Jay are not allowed to speak to students while they're being recorded. I mean, that's another issue. But he said that the window covers on the classrooms were to be used in a shooter situation, and he used those terms. It was a very specific thing. He said that he did not know much about it because they had not been given any kind of background information of what it is. But he did have some basic information that it did involve someone with a gun on campus. And he said eventually what they're going to do is they're going to put locks on the door that can be locked from the inside and cannot be opened from the outside by jamming a key into it. Exactly what that means, I don't know. So that there will be locks on the inside to allow for the door to be locked, and then the window would be covered. I asked him about the logic of covering a window actually indicates that someone is in the room, which is something that Joe had pointed out. And he said no, they had not considered that, and that he had not been briefed on any of this. So Gordon did not know much, but he knew that much.
Would you believe this to be a common consensus among John Jay security officers?
I assume so, because another security officer walked up and was listening to me interviewing or questioning Gordon, police officer, safety officer Gordon, and he was shaking his head and he was saying yes. He looked more, this other guy looked more like a sergeant, someone higher up in rank. So clearly he was agreeing with what safety officer Gordon was saying.
So what are your personal opinions on the door covers?
You know, it seems to me, my opinion is very limited, and it's the beginning of an opinion because I don't have enough information. I'm certainly glad that your team has picked up this newsworthy item to talk about in this podcast, and I assume it's something, from my listening to you all talk about it, it's something that is a security technique that's being used in other places, and I'm anxious to hear what you have to say about that. Though it doesn't seem to be very significant when it comes to a shooter situation, and to think that this is going to solve anything, it's not. There needs to be a lot more deep thought. If it's part of a larger program, maybe. But Joe, you brought up a really good point. If all the other windows are open and not covered, and one window on the floor is covered, there's people in there. And so this seems to be a logical flaw in the reasoning of the window covers, especially in a school like John Jay where there's not all the rooms are used.
Thank you.
Sure, my pleasure.
All right, so these quote-unquote safety curtains, what seems to be looks like a 30 by 4 piece of plywood with 4 magnets, one on each side, attached with another piece of plywood, and that's basically what the materials are made out of.
Do you feel safe putting that in front of a door?
Well, I'm putting myself into a position where this is the process. If a shooter were to come to my door and shoot this, it would pierce right through. There's no way this is going to deflect or even absorb bullets.
Well, I mean, honestly speaking, it's not meant to deter gunfire. It's meant to protect us from outside forces, or to shield us from the sight of people who would do wrong to us. But do you feel that this is adequate?
I mean, if it's not gunfire, it's a hand, and I can. If I would have trained myself, I could easily punch through this. I could chop through this.
But I don't think it's supposed to be to protect you from the actual force itself, but from anybody knowing that you're where you're at.
I mean, if you're gonna cover this only brings curiosity even further. I'm gonna want to walk in there more if it's covered.
As said by Professor Allen as well in our earlier interview. Close it.
It brings the attention more because it's obvious that there's somebody in there.
Well, the purpose of it it might bring attention to the shooter, but it's also meant to bring attention to the security officer. The security officer is supposed to see that the place is covered and then come in to bring in protection. Don't know if it works or not, but yeah.
Well, based on the lack of training that the security has, I doubt that that's what's going on.
You know, at first I want to use this moment to talk about the instructions written on the emergency panel itself and the logical flaws in following them. After all, it's not just the panel that's gotten our scrutiny, but it's the instructions that come with using it that has become one of the main cruxes of our arguments. At first I had a lot to talk about. Now with the first three directions, since they're pretty straightforward. Lift up the panel, place over door glass, and cover the glass completely. One can argue the effectiveness in simply covering the glass to shield the group from the malicious attack, but in terms of interpreting the directions, one would be hard-pressed in misconstruing the instructions. It was the last part I want to talk about, particularly the disclaimer that comes along with it. Wait for the instructions from Public Safety NYPD, it reads. And the disclaimer reads, never lock door, and if door is covered, Public Safety will enter and investigate. I wanted to take the moment to call out whoever wrote and endorsed this part, as it suggested to all of us that we were never to lock the door, even in the event of an attack, and wait for everything to blow over. It sounded ridiculous, especially when considering the fact that, as mentioned before, having the panel cover the door will mark the door for an attacker, who will be free to enter into an unlocked room. But then I read the rest of the instructions and realized that there was a huge miscommunication. The instructions is not to never lock the door, but it fully reads, never lock door or cover glass unless under campus lockdown, as in a campus lockdown is the exception to the rule on locking the door. We were all under the impression that we were to just cover the glass with the panel and keep the door unlocked for just about anyone to enter. It was a major source of outreach on our part, but maybe, just maybe, it was we that overreacted, and there's more merit to using this panel than we give it credit. Granted, the miscommunication stems from the simple fact that there is no instruction to lock the door. I mean, where's that simple fifth instruction after covering the glass and before waiting for the public safety? I mean, just put down somewhere. Lock door. Turn the lock on. Get a key and lock it. Something. Anything to convey the message that we're not just supposed to cover the glass and hope for the best. Maybe the instructions and uses of the panel might be different in other campuses and locations, as what Joe and we will talk about soon.
All right, I would like to talk about demographics outside of John Jay, because these safety curtains, these objects of frivolous financial spending, honestly, it's a wanton disregard for our tuition money, are useless. But it's not only here. Other places also adopt these so-called safety curtains, but you don't see them at the college level. Most of the times you see these at the preschool, kindergarten, middle school level. They're meant not to be taken seriously, but as a deterrence or something that helps kids psychologically handle what's going on outside of their classroom. I actually delve into a lot of research, and not only do these covers or curtains exist outside of the John Jay, but they're actually meant to bring classrooms together, giving teachers a lot of, interactive kind of situations where you could actually have the kids design the door cover and make them feel a lot more comfortable with having it on the door in case of an emergency. But at a college level, does this really mean anything to us?
So then basically what you said about it, helping the kids deal with it so that they don't see what's going on, so it actually is useful for something.
Psychologically speaking, yes. It gives you that sense that nobody can see me now. But as an adult, does that really work?
It's like a child when they put a blanket over them. It makes them feel protected. That's just that's the thought process.
It's actually the same principle. It's the same thought process that he's going through right now. But does that work on college students? And should that work on college students is my question.
So you think that it works on kids but not on college students? Because there are people that go through psychological, being old and adults.
Honestly, as an adult, we are raised to understand the outside world and what's actually happening. And no amount of plywood is going to protect you from any kind of outside force without locking a door.
At the very least.
At the very least, locking the door from the inside. But at the same time, these doors that we currently have, we don't have a locking system that will allow us to lock the classroom from the inside.
Yeah.
Currently speaking, our doors can be opened from the outside with the use of a key. So if any kind of determined person were to come in here, let's say a disgruntled employee who has keys to every room in the building, where's the target? The targets are painted broadly, in broad strokes, by these door covers.
I say as students, we should have like a say in how we should protect these classrooms, because plywood ain't gonna cut it. And at the very least, we should lock these doors. That's the bare minimum.
Also, the contradiction of it saying to not lock the door, but then I don't understand that. Like, it's meant so nobody could know that you're in there, but then they could just walk right in through the door.
I would like to add about what Joe said about the other schools doing that. I've seen images of the safety curtains that they have in other schools, and it looks like they won't have that problem. They won't paint the target because they're all there, because they're all covering the doors to an extent that we just don't have that. That will have the problem here, but not there.
So do you think it would be better if those covers were always on the window?
Yeah, I would think so. That's the only method I could think of to make these things, to give these things a use.
Joe, do you agree?
Okay, I think we're going to cut in there to the podcast. There's more to that, but we're going to introduce the team that created this podcast. So why don't we'll start with Juan and just move around the table.
Hello, I'm Juan, and my major is in forensic science.
I'm Joe.
Good morning, I'm Victor Ayala, and my major is
And Victor, if you can be a little louder so we can all hear you nice and clear. Good morning. Okay. Oh, wait a minute. You know what? I didn't even put the mics on.
That's very interesting.
That's very interesting. Okay. No, because you hear it through my mic. Okay, let's try that again. So we'll start with Juan. I was going like, this is really quiet. Go ahead.
Okay, so I'm Juan Marquez. My major is in forensic science.
I'm Joe Juan Chan.
I'm Victor Ayala. Good morning, and my major is economics.
I'm Christy Loveras, and my major is forensic psychology.
Okay, we did it. I'm gonna play a short piece. This is about a minute long. This comes from the Las Vegas local news, in which an elementary school is playing around with this. So they call them security windows or security guards in elementary schools. Let's play that. Just about a minute.
Safe windows is needed to protect kids at Beckley Elementary. Sheree.
That's right, Paula. Right now, this iron gate is really what's protecting us from getting inside the building. But once inside, the school is getting a gift they hope will better protect their 600 students. Out of all the classroom lessons, safety is a concept many students still fear, even 3 months after the mass murder at Sandy Hook Elementary.
I get scared sometimes that it might happen. It made me feel really sad.
After the shooting, Will Beckley Elementary became what's called a closed campus. A gate went up around the school. Check-in is only at the front office, plus all doors locked behind you. Now they're getting safe school windows.
So you can see out from inside the room very clearly, but to see in is very difficult.
The coverings create a visual barrier that Dr. Becky Watson says will protect kids in case of an emergency.
It buys a few seconds potentially if somebody were outside the window that's not supposed to be.
It's a few seconds, they hope, saves lives, especially because right now, Assistant Principal Nina Sanford says kids are in plain sight under a lockdown.
We have windows all around, and so it's not very safe for our kids if we do have someone either on campus or, an issue around, the campus.
Another element of safety, giving students a feeling that's a lesson within itself.
Okay, so does it buy safety or not? I'm dubious about this.
Repeat the question.
Yeah, do these windows, covering a window so that it's only one way and the students and teachers in this room can look out and see who's out there, but the people outside can't look in. That's the system they've set up. Our system is not that rigorous. Our system is you put a blanket over the window and no one can see either way. So does that work? I mean, the argument was it gives them a modicum, a few seconds in which they can protect themselves. I don't get it.
What is a few seconds?
Well,
a few seconds is 3 seconds.
What are you going to do in the 3 seconds?
That was what I was trying
I
to
mean,
say.
is the teacher going to go walk over to her desk and pull out her gun?
Yeah, I was actually going to say that. Like,
Or
does she have like a melee weapon
is
on
there
her?
is there a way to barricade the classroom in 3 seconds?
Or
where is
where
there to
does-
run?
Or is there a closet for the students to go to kind of hide in?
Well, is it installed in? Is it installed in every single class?
In this particular, if you go to the to this newscast, it's a television newscast, you can see that each of the this elementary school rooms has big plate glass windows that separate the hall from the room, but you can't see into the room from the outside because they've got these safety kind of posters that are up there that it's only one way. You can see out, but you can't see in. I mean, I can see a lot of problems with that. I mean, what if there's a problem that's going on in the classroom? Let's say the teacher kind of fell down with a heart attack, and no one could see in that something happened.
Or at the high school level, I remember several stories of teachers being stabbed by their students. What happens if that happens?
Right. And
What happens if a student brandishes a knife inside of the classroom? No one from the outside world is any of the wiser to what's actually going on.
Because they can't see through the window into the classroom. Yeah, it does seem to create problems. Any other?
I mean, in my school, someone brought a BB gun and we had to do a lockdown, but we didn't. There was no really a safety procedure. They were just like close your door and just hide away from the door.
Okay.
That's really all that was.
Juan, you said you found some additional information about how these window guards are supposed to work. I wonder if you can give us a little report on that.
All right. So I actually found a set of instructions on what to do in case of a shooter situation. We made it clear in our arguments that there was this problem where it says never to lock the door, but it says here like there's a second instruction on hiding that we should lock the door when we enter into a room to ensure that something like this to ensure that they won't be able to get to us. And
That's a contradiction.
Yeah, you also brought up other contradictions in communication as to whether we should be, lock the door or not lock the door, or locking the door is going to work or not work. I heard from the guard, they said that they were going to set the lock so that keys could not open the door. I'm not sure what would open the door. So it's all very confusing. Krista, anything you want to add?
Yeah, I don't know. I think I have mixed feelings about this because just putting the panel thing on the little curtain on the window for that.
I'm not
might
hearing
as well
her on
just
the mic.
Yeah, I don't hear myself.
Oh, okay.
Fred.
Yeah, everything's up. Everything's going. Yeah.
For that, might as well just have a normal door without a window.
All right.
But then wouldn't that bring up the same problem that was brought up before, that if something happens inside the classroom that people outside can't be able to see in too?
You're right, Krista. Your mic wasn't on. I apologize. I can't talk and do the tech at the same time, obviously. So what were you saying?
I don't know that, like, for example, you were talking about that glass that people could see outside but not inside or whatever. That would be on the window.
Yeah, it covers the window. So, for instance, the windows there's no windows to this office, but if there were, we could see what's going outside, like in a police interrogation
Two-way
room.
mirror.
A two-way mirror.
Right. Or, one-way mirror.
So that's what I meant to say. One-way mirror.
One-way mirror, right. Yeah, so I'm not sure exactly how that worked. Juan, is there something you wanted to say?
Well, the idea that if we were to have doors like what we have here, where there's no window, there's that problem that's brought up before, where if something happens inside, nobody outside would be able to see the problem.
Right. And then the whole logic of if one window is covered and all the other windows are not, well, we know there's people in there.
I mean, I have an idea. Like, we should have like an intercom in every room. So that way, if we were to ever be in danger, we could just.
Well, there's an intercom in the school. I mean, we do get fire alerts.
I mean, but do we have where we can directly contact public safety in the event of a shootout? I don't know.
Listen, we've got 5 minutes, and I wanted, while I have you here, I wanted to really switch and talk to you about this idea of a student-run radio program, not just for music, but to talk about issues like this. Like, for instance, it's too hot, and why is it? And what are these doggone things that are on the windows, and who's paying for it? And is it really worth it? I mean, there's a lot of issues that are going on that we should be talking about, I think. What is the potential of a student-run radio program like WJGCRH or anything else that you want to create?
I mean, students can definitely relate to other students, so it'll definitely be an easier way to get people to listen to us. But explaining the issues of a lot of things in the school, it's just good to inform the students because they have a right to know what's wrong.
Yes, and a lot of people probably agree, and if everybody finds out, then maybe we could change some of the things that we find wrong.
Yeah, I think that this has a lot of potential. Maybe if we had a better kind of focus on what we can talk about and more freedom to discuss these things, then yeah, it could work a whole lot better.
I can see a lot of students ranting on their teachers, so that could be a problem.
Yeah, I think it has a lot of potential, and it's something that I would be interested in.
I mean, if you brought people to talk professionally, I mean, no one's going to use the opportunity to bash someone over the air.
I mean, unless we're talking about like the teacher's efficiency in teaching, so to speak.
Well, I mean, then that's, if it is an actual problem, then that problem can be brought to the board. I mean, you could physically go out and take steps to reconcile that kind of situation.
All right.
If that actually occurred.
I feel like the first step were to be the broadcast. Everybody's talking about them.
Well, if there's reality behind that, then shouldn't that student's voice be heard?
Sure, yeah.
And I mean, I'm pretty sure that if that was the case, that other people have taken the same exact class and had the exact same results. In that case, then yes, that is a problem that needs to be addressed. But as opposed to just coming on air just to bash someone, I don't think it's actually going to happen.
There should definitely be rules, though. I don't think anybody would come. Everybody knows, that there's limits that you can't pass. So I think that would be something that has a lot of potential.
I'm just trying to name the, just in case.
I mean, like, a lot of things can go wrong.
Especially since it's student-based. Like, I mean, as long as everybody's professional, then there shouldn't be a problem. And we can even read off the Sentinel, if anything, because a lot of people don't tend to read the Sentinel. So if we say it to them.
How often is the Sentinel published?
Every month. Yeah.
That's terrible.
I mean,
they have a monthly newspaper. I mean, there's things that are happening in the school that should be weekly occurrences.
Yeah.
I mean, even this small story about door covers is something that I haven't read personally in the Sentinel.
I haven't even.
I haven't heard student outcry over it. I haven't heard any kind of information about it. All I know is that one semester they weren't here, and the next semester they were.
Wow.
Well, I mean, to be able to do it on a weekly basis, to be able to do something like this on a weekly basis, it requires a lot of manpower to do it.
It doesn't really require manpower; it requires effort.
Yeah, but well, same idea.
I mean, if each of us actually had a story that we wanted to pursue and were willing to go the distance, then we could do this every week.
You're not wrong.
I could do this every week.
Yeah.
I mean, I enjoy this personally. I enjoy the radio aspect a lot more than the actual classwork.
Yeah, but then it would sound, then you'd sacrifice a lot of professionalism doing this.
Not really. A professional story doesn't necessarily need to be extensive. I mean, if you pull together facts and then research those facts and then talk about the facts that you have researched and not include the stuff that you have no knowledge of, then the podcast still becomes professional.
Yeah, but then how much time is it going to take from like other?
If you weekly, meaning at the end of the week, so every Friday this would be done. That means you'd have your story on Saturday. The research would begin on Sunday, and that would give you 5 to 6 days of straight research.
And it could be done during community hour. It's even better.
I want to invite you all to WJJCRH. We're broadcasting today at 1:30. We do have people that do broadcast every week. They'll be talking today about, I can't remember, but they will be talking today at 1:30 on WJJCRH. And if you want to join or create your own radio show, live radio show on Radio 568, please contact me, Professor Alan Whitson, at Winson at jjaycuny.edu. That's AWINSON at jjay.cuny.edu. Or you can Twitter us at Radio568JJ, at Radio568JJ, and we will get back to you. Thank you all. This was a good podcast. I enjoyed it. You all had a lot to say, and have a good day. So you all take it out while I put on some music.
Bye, everyone, and shout out to Genesis for listening.
Good afternoon, and enjoy your day.
Thanks.